In 1974, a low-budget Texas film rolled into drive-ins pretending to be a true story. Five friends take a sun-baked detour down rural backroads, stumble into a house decorated with bones, and meet a family that treats visitors like livestock. A mute butcher in a human skin mask, Leatherface, herds them to the killing floor with a sledgehammer, a meat hook, and that motorized howl. The shocks feel documentary real because the movie was built to look and sound like evidence. Grainy images, abrasive sound, no safe distance. That immediacy wasn't an accident. It was the production's survival strategy. Tobe Hooper and Kim Henkel formed Vortex, scraped together a shoestring budget, and shot outside Austin in brutal heat with a 16mm camera that demanded punishing amounts of light. Days ran long, 7 a week up to 16 hours. Gunnar Hansen's Leatherface costume and mask were never washed because there wasn't a spare. He wore them 12 to 16 hours a day for weeks. The grime baked into the fabric and into the rushes. What the kids discover on screen, the farmhouse layered with bones, feathers, and meat, was mirrored by the art department's brutal thrift. Real animal remains, slaughterhouse scraps, even imported skeletons added to the house's mausoleum vibe. The smell was as bad as it looks. When Sally, Marilyn Burns, bolts through brush and furniture, the cuts on her arms aren't effects. They're the price of running a marathon in a haunted house. The story tightens into a pressure cooker at the dinner table. Sally tied to a chair, the family leering, Grandpa wheezing like a museum relic. That sequence, edited to feel like a panic attack, was filmed in one infamously long stretch, roughly 27 hours under hot lights with food rotting on the table. The shrill hysteria that ends the scene has a practical origin. The set became uninhabitable, and the actors were cooked past the point of acting. If the images feel like documentary footage, the soundtrack seals the illusion. There's barely music in the traditional sense. Hooper and sound recordist composer Wayne Bell layered clanks, scrapes, drones, and on-set textures into an industrial nightmare. Half a century later, Waxwork reconstructed and released that abrasive collage, confirming what audiences felt in '74. The score is less melody than machinery. Anxiety rendered as sound. Even the opening crawl carries a grindhouse footnote.
Is an account of the tragedy which befell a group of 5 youths, in particular Sally Hardesty and her invalid brother Franklin.
The grave-cold narration was recorded by a then-unknown John Larroquette, who has said he took payment in weed.
My nigga.
A bit of folklore he's repeated in interviews. It fits the production's ledger, favors IOUs, and whatever got the job done. Off-screen, the story turned from backroads horror to urban noir. With no studio eager to touch it, Vortex signed with Bryanston Distributing Company, run by Louis Perrino, later tied to the deep-throat obscenity cases and the Colombo family orbit. The film grossed over $30 million in the US and Canada, astronomical against its tiny cost, yet the creators saw little. A lawsuit eventually ordered Bryanston to pay, but the company went bankrupt. New Line later acquired the rights. The ledger became the film's final chamber, a place where money disappeared. Fold that history back into the story and the metaphors sharpen. The kids drive in innocent. The machine behind the door chews them up. So did the business. The Sawyer family's rituals, bonework, butchery, keeping traditions alive in a collapsing economy, mirror a 1970s America where industry and appetite turned human. What keeps the movie ageless is how little gore it needs to suggest total violation. A slammed steel door, a twitching body, the whine of a chain. You remember what you didn't see because the sound and texture insist you did. Even the geography lives on. The final chase down a dusty farm road. Sally's mad laughter in the truck. Leatherface's sunrise ballet with the saw was shot around Round Rock and Bastrop, sites that still draw film tourists like pilgrims to a crime scene. Texas claimed the nightmare, then put up signposts. 50 years later, the Texas Chain Saw Massacre reads like a field report from the edge of American normal. Hooper's thrift birthed an aesthetic. Shoot it hot, light it hard, keep the camera invasive, let the sound do the violence your budget can't. The result chiseled the genre's grammar. Mask, power tools, final girl, while proving suggestion is stronger than splatter. That it survived bans, censor boards, and a distributor that evaporated its profits only adds to its feral aura. The miracle isn't that it was influential, but that it exists at all.